Gloria Gonzalez Delucia, Anna Smith,
Here.
Christine Maurer,
Here.
Trish Bodie,
Here.
Sade Fashokun, Francesca Romans,
Here.
Paul Gautier.
It is 6:15, and with the quorum of the board present, I call this meeting of the Leander ISD Board of Trustees to order. Tonight, we will start with our opening ceremony with our Pledge of Allegiance. It is my pleasure to welcome Cadet Staff Sergeant Madison Gilstrap of the Air Force Junior ROTC at Leander High School to lead the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge this evening. Madison is the daughter of Eric and Holly Gilstrap and a sophomore at Leander High School, go Lions, where she serves as a non-commissioned officer in charge of community service events for Leander High School AFJROTC cadets. In her free time, Madison enjoys training her dog and aspires to become a military working dog handler and a service dog trainer. Well done, Cadet Staff Sergeant Gilstrap.
Please stand and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Please remain standing for your moment of silence.
Thank you.
And now we will move to one of the board's favorite part of the evening is our recognition, and it's Spotlight on Learning with Early College High School. Welcome. Welcome. We're so excited to have y'all here.
Madam Vice President, Board of Trustees, Dr. Gehring, we are humbly and very happy to be here tonight and let you know what has been going on at Early College High School in terms of our empowered student learning. So one thing that Ms. Payne and I are going to do is we're just going to kind of set it up for our students and parents and then just quite simply get out of their way and let them tell of their experiences there. I do want to provide a little bit of background that Early College High School was actually founded on the promises of Leander ISD. What we want our students to do is exit our system by being able to live out the graduate profile. And in doing that, that will help our students do what's right there up on that sign, and that is leading them to a bright future. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to create a school that would allow our community to move mountains. And it will do that through the targeted students that will enter our school, and we'll explain that a little bit more as we go along. So what we did is we developed this entire campus and built it brick by brick, 100% off all of the guiding documents of the district. We said, what would happen if we took the Leander Way, all of our guiding documents, our graduate profile, our ethical principles, and if we truly lived that out and created a school shoulder to shoulder with our students so we could learn together about what our school was going to be and how we were going to be able to help our community in the future. So it's important that everybody knows that it's open to all, but specifically, we do focus on those students that have lower direct to IHE enrollment, so Institutes of Higher Education, and that is defined as an expectation by TEA. So to make sure that all of our students were supported, we made sure that we hired for diversity of experience because we knew our students were going to come from every background, and every single student needs to have their person on campus. That's what helps them really engage and really understand and learn together side by side with our instructors. One of the things I like to challenge people when they walk through our campus is 20% of our students are at risk, 20% are economically disadvantaged, 20% are special education, so on and so forth. And what I love is you cannot identify those students as you walk through our building. Last but not least, the results that we've had over this last year will kind of be expressed this evening, but I cannot stress this enough. This was 100% done by listening to the community, listening to our students, asking our parents what they wanted, asking for the hopes and dreams of our students, which courses they wanted to have available, what they wanted their outcomes to be, and then we said, okay, let's roll up our sleeves and do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and hand it off to my thought partner, Ms. Payne.
Thanks, Clay. Good evening, Madam Vice President, members of the board, and Dr. Gehring. Since the launch of our campus, we've been intentional about creating a college-going culture. We've created systems and structures that support our scholars, not students, but scholars, in learning the academic skills and behaviors that are necessary for success in their college courses, both at ACC and beyond. Our scholars learn college behaviors such as help-seeking, proactively using early college and ACC tutorials and office hours to support their learning. They are learning the art and the science of note-taking and time management. We grow our high school freshmen with varying levels of middle school success into college freshmen in just a few short months. Our intentional and tiered intervention protocols resulted in an 83% English TSI pass rate and a 95% math test rate for our first cohort of students during their first school year. To remind everyone, that is a college exam taken by freshmen. We believe that our systems, supports, and structures are replicable, scalable, and sustainable. Tonight, we have some of our Griffin community here to speak about their experiences at early college. In their stories, you will learn of their processes in becoming an empowered student learner. In their stories, you will hear of the value of voice, of commitment, and of persistence. Our campus spotlight on early college will conclude with our final college speaker, but we're open to questions if you have any.
Good evening. My name is Lorraine Zajac, and I am an educator, an author, and a business owner, and also the proud parent of a freshman at Leander ISD's Early College High School. To begin, I would like to thank each member of the Board of Trustees for their dedication and commitment to the students of the district. As parents, we appreciate your passionate service and partnership as we work together to provide the best preparations for these scholars. Leander Early College High School was our school of choice after extensive research and exploring a variety of options. We chose ECHS as it stood out in several ways and exemplified the values we uphold as a family and for our children's education. My husband and I, we believe that a child's education foundation is paramount in setting the stage for their future and shaping their character, their intellect, and their career prospects. This school year is my scholar's first experience in the public school system. Our route to ECHS is unique, as my scholar was previously in a private school, a school so private you had to be born into the family to attend. Coming in as an outsider came with many reservations, which were quickly subdued by the administration's thorough communication and organization. Any challenges that arose were quickly addressed and resolved. We're excited for the road ahead and believe that ECHS is the place for our child for a variety of reasons. To begin, its commitment to academic excellence through the rigorous coursework, advanced placement programs, and access to college-level courses. We believe that such a challenging academic environment would not only foster our child's intellectual growth, but also prepare him for success in higher education. This opportunity to enroll in college courses while still in high school is a remarkable advantage. This unique aspect allows our child to gain college credits and college experience, significantly reducing the financial burden of future higher education and giving him a head start in his academic journey. The selling point for us was the supportive community. We have been genuinely impressed by the sense of community and support that ECHS offers. The teachers and the staff members are dedicated and passionate about helping students succeed. The smaller class sizes foster a close-knit, nurturing environment where my child can receive individualized attention and guidance as he prepares for his future. As a first-generation college graduate and immigrant to the U.S., my road to college and in college was an arduous one, fueled by grit, determination, a lot of luck and prayer. And we as parents, we wanted a different experience for our son, and we believe that ECHS will provide that for him. Additionally, we chose ECHS for its diverse learning opportunities. We wanted to ensure that our child would have a well-rounded experience during his high school years, and we're confident that Leander's early college high school would not only prepare our child for college, but also equip him with essential life skills and career readiness. The focus on critical thinking, problem solving, and leadership is commendable. We believe that ECHS offers the best possible environment for our child's growth and development, and we have high hopes that our child and all who attend will thrive academically and personally in this nurturing and challenging educational setting. So in closing, thank you again to the Board of Trustees for your commitment to maintaining the high standard of Leander's ECHS. We greatly and appreciate your dedication to providing a top-notch education for all of our children. I look forward to being an active and supportive member of this school community, and thank you for your partnership.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me. My name is Mason, and I am a freshman at Leander's Early College High School. Before coming to ECHS, I was feeling doubtful. I thought it would be too much work, or that I wasn't smart enough for high school and college at the same time. Also, I was feeling doubtful because this was the first public school I've ever been at. I was homeschooled up until now, so switching from being homeschooled to being in a high school and college was a little scary. Enrolling in this school would be a new experience because I would be in a classroom with other students, I would be away from home, and I wouldn't know anyone. All of those are major changes, so of course I was hesitant to enroll in this ECHS. Luckily, my family encouraged me to experience ECHS. Once I started going to ECHS, the things that stood out to me the most were the school support, the friendly environment, and the opportunity. The school support system I will definitely use because I did not reach the score needed in the essay portion when I took the TSI. In order to take the college courses, I have to pass the multiple choice portion and the essay portion on the TSI. So the school support system will definitely have me prepared for the next time I retake the TSI. The environment is very friendly at ECHS. I've been here for a couple months, yet I haven't had a negative experience. You can tell they try to make every student feel like they belong here. While the opportunity is amazing, doing high school and college at the same time is very difficult. But if you can do both of them, that saves lots of time. Once I graduate from ECHS, I will have an associate's degree at 17, which will get me ahead of the schedule to complete college. So I'm very thankful for this opportunity that I got. This school is friendly, supportive, and gives opportunities that I don't think I would get anywhere else. That's why I really enjoy being a student here, and I can't wait to see what the future has in store. It will be hard work to graduate with both a high school diploma and a college associate's degree, but with all the support the school has, I will definitely reach my goals.
Good afternoon. My name is Victor Scarano, and this is my story as a sophomore at Early College High School. Ever since I was in 5th grade, I have been fascinated by computers and how they work behind the scenes. I began my programming journey very early on and gained lots of experience throughout the years. I knew that going into high school, I would want to pursue a career in computer science. When I first heard about ECHS, I was a bit hesitant. I was unsure whether sacrificing friends would be worth thousands of dollars of college tuition being paid for me. but I knew that this program could give me a huge head start in pursuing computer science and going to my dream school, UT Austin, as well as save thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars if I decided to pursue graduate school. I knew I had to take this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and that if I realized later down the line that it wasn't right for me, I could return to my home campus. After joining ECHS, I discovered that not everyone has to have the same end goal and complete it in the same time frame as everyone else. I could utilize the opportunities at ECHS to their fullest potential to achieve my own goals at my own pace. After speaking with my counselor about how I want to reach my goal of graduating with an associate's degree in computer science, she created a personalized schedule for me to work ahead to take the classes I need. In other words, while others would be graduating high school with an associate's degree in general studies, I would pursue my love for computer science and graduate with an associate's in computer science instead. Although I will be taking more difficult classes, I still need to maintain good grades in my other classes in order to reach my goal of attending UT, then finally turning my passion and hobby into a career. I hope to raise awareness for new students at ECHS of how they can use the educational opportunities this program offers to pursue their own dreams. I am incredibly grateful that I made the life-changing decision of joining ECHS. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Camila Prado Centeno, and I'm a sophomore at Early College High School. I moved from my home country, Venezuela, to the U.S. 6 years ago. My family and I came here to have a better future after the government started persecuting my father, an accountant, for working against corruption and money laundering. I packed my whole life in one suitcase, and I left everything I knew behind: friends, family, home, and even my language. For the first weeks, I lived here at one of my mom's friend's house. I took care of my brother because both of my parents were working 2 to 3 jobs each. Just like my parents saw a great opportunity by coming to the U.S., I saw an opportunity in enrolling at ECHS. Like all big changes, it was not an easy decision. I was scared, mostly because English is not my first language, and early college sounded like a hard program. Sometimes I'm scared of doing new things, but when I see other people doing it, I feel like I can do it too. My first year at early college was the best experience I could ever have. I learned to work hard for things I want to accomplish, such as getting a college degree. I took the college readiness test, the TSI, at the beginning of my freshman year. I failed it several times because the language was still hard. But with the help and support of my teachers, I was able to pass it before the end of the school year and take my first college class over the summer. I took my first college class with adult ACC students, and I passed the class. My dreams are to graduate with my high school diploma and my associate's college degree, and pursue a bachelor's degree and possibly a terminal degree in law. I want to have a career where I can help others in need just like everyone around me has helped me. Even though leaving my home country was hard because I knew I would never return, I know where I belong, and that's here in ECHS. I got a new opportunity that I would never have able to have in a normal high school or in Venezuela. Thank you for supporting the Griffins, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Well, I just want to say thank you all so much for sharing your stories. We're so proud of you all, and I know that this was it's been quite an amazing experiment, I'll say. Just to see the results of that experiment are just fantastic. I know Franny got to visit today, so she's really excited about sharing that with us as well. But I just wanted to ask the three of you, what is the most surprising thing so far at ECHS? What has surprised you the most? Okay, mom too. I want to know from mom too.
For me, I feel like the most surprising thing is like how nice everyone is, and like all the teachers, all the students, everyone treats everyone right, and there's like a lot of support for everyone.
The thing that surprised me the most was how similar it was to my expectations for a normal high school. I thought it was going to be very, very different, and I feel like it's been about as difficult as I would have expected a normal high school to be, for my experience.
I was surprised by the support. I thought I would be kind of struggling, but there's lots of support to help me, so I like that. I was surprised.
I think for me, the most surprising thing is how welcoming everybody is. You know, as homeschoolers, we always have a different stigma against coming into the public school, but we thought we would have to jump through a lot of hoops and, you know, do just a whole bunch of, you know, tests and different things. But, you know, the process was, you know, pretty easy and very easy to follow and just very welcoming. Everybody's very supportive and just making sure that all the kids are on the right track and doing what they need to do. So we appreciate that. Thank you.
Mason, Victor, Kamala, right? Did I say? Camila? Thank y'all so much for speaking tonight. If y'all don't know, this is our second school of choice school that we have in the district. And what y'all talked about tonight, a recurring theme was opportunities. And that to me just makes my heart so happy because the doors that are going to be open to you, but most importantly, the students that are listening to you tonight that are going to have to make that decision. And just hearing you be able to speak your truth, but your passion and the opportunities that it's creating, y'all are going to change the world, I'm telling you. So thank you so much for being brave, and speaking tonight. And can we get a picture with y'all, please?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to the educators as well, because that's been a recurring theme that we've heard from the students, how much they love their teachers and how well they're providing the supports and helping them succeed. So thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you also. I got to go hang out yesterday for not nearly long enough, so I'm definitely gonna have to go back. But the main thing that I noticed was the comfort level of everybody on the campus. The kids had no problem moving from different groups to different classes. Everybody was genuinely comfortable where they were. And not just that, but when it was time for the kids to take over their own learning and to teach the class, there was no hesitation. They moved right into doing geometry. That's, I think, geometry. Math is not my department, y'all. But they were having fun with it. And there was no hesitation from them to take ownership of their own learning in the atmosphere that they were in. And it was really, really fun to watch. So thank y'all so much for letting me come spend some time with you yesterday.
All right, ready for a picture?
And then the board members are going to file.
Okay, then. Okay, that's much easier, isn't it?
All right, thank y'all so much, Early College High School. We really enjoyed the presentation. Thank you, parents, for coming out tonight. Thank you, students. And now we will move on to our Custodian Appreciation Week, and we have a video for that.
Hello, this is Craig with Leander ISD Custodial. We just wanted to give a shout out to all of our employees out there that we see, all the dedication and commitment that y'all do every day. And we just wanted to thank you and let you know that we really appreciate everything that you're doing out there day in and day out. You know, at the beginning of the summer, we had roughly 45 plus positions open. Currently, we've got just 3. They're in the front lines, getting the building safe and clean and ready to go for the students to come back each day. You know, they're constantly cleaning up messes, cleaning up after lunches, making sure the restrooms are stocked and sanitized. It's a constant battle against dirt and dust, and I think our crew does a great job getting everything clean and sanitized and disinfectant and ready for the day to begin every morning.
We love our custodians. Thank y'all. And now we will move on to the citizens' comment part of our agenda tonight. And we have another video for that.
The district and the Board of Trustees are the local government body charged with serving the educational needs of all school children in the Leander Independent School District, like me, as they pursue their mission to cultivate an individual student while creating a safe and supportive environment. The board is now taking up the citizens' comment agenda item, which is time set aside during this meeting to hear from the whole community, which can include a wide audience of the entire LISD family. Still, remember that there are other ways you can communicate with the board. You can send them an email, come to a board cafe, or you can just tell them that you'd like to chat sometime. The district believes the Leander family thrives when we ensure a welcoming, safe, and caring environment. Board operating procedures and BED local specifies guidelines, so it is important that you have read them before you speak. The board wants to hear from everyone, but still asks you to be mindful of your conduct and the example you are choosing to set when presenting complex information. If you are presenting material that only certain high schoolers may encounter, remember that school children of all ages may participate in board meetings, either by watching them online, or you might even come see some of us in the audience. When the board president calls your number, remember, watch the timer and focus your remarks to the time allotted. We know it can be hard, but please conclude your comments when you hear the chime.
Speaker number 1.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Craven, here to share experiences that I've had in the 15 years that I've had children in the LISD schools, and we're not unique. I'm just a voice for many others. A few years back, we had a middle school principal who's now retired who would do a dress code check after the pledge. Trish, you might remember this. The children would remain standing after the pledge, and the teachers were asked to go around and send the offending children to the office. And this is what my child was wearing that day. Apparently it was the Target leggings that were offensive. And I was called from work to bring a change of clothes. I had many conversations with that principal who at one point bragged to me that his MO was to wear people down. When I got public records on such infractions of dress code, it was the majority of girls who were targeted, no surprise. In the process, I reached out to a friend of mine who was a professor, is a full professor at UT, whose research is the politics and implementation of education policy with a particular focus on the relationship among school reform, equity, and diversity in schools, which we have some work to do on that still. I ended up working with district staff, Brandon Evans, on developing some edits to the dress code. There have been iterations since then. So there's apparently an expectation with LISD general that schools are to remain independent, and they are not to be controlled, or the administration shouldn't be made to feel controlled by the district. But this is the type of problem that occurs when we don't have proper oversight. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker number 1. Speaker number 2.
Good evening. Thank you all for your service. I wanted to go back and encourage you to pursue the long-range planning committee's recommendation on early childhood education. Early childhood education is incredibly important, and this is something that our school district should put money into. So I would encourage you to get on that process and do that sooner rather than later. It's so incredibly important. And too many of our students, may not have a family with the financial means to send them to preschool or whatever. This is why by the Leander School District doing this, everyone gets an even playing field and everyone gets that step up so that they can do what they need to do with their education. So I hope that that will take place and you'll get started with that as soon as possible. I also want to mention to everyone out there, things do get better if you're an LGBTQ plus student, if you're just different, however that may be. I've had all those issues, but now I have a wonderful life, a wonderful partner, and you will too. So keep a stiff upper lip, find friends, network, and continue to move forward. Thank you so much for all your help. God bless.
Thank you, speaker number 2. And that concludes our citizens' comments for the evening. Board, we will now move to consent agenda. If we don't have anything to take off, I need a motion.
I move the consent agenda items be approved as presented.
I second.
A motion from Christine, a second from Francesca. Any discussion? No? All those in favor? 5 yeses, oppose, 0 oppose. Motion passes. And next we will move to the superintendent's report. Dr. Gearing, you're up.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. I appreciate that. One of the traits that we want our children to have is confidence. And this young lady just exudes confidence, in my opinion. This was a picture taken by our wonderful Michaela at the Festival of the Bands last Monday night. And just really one of those moments that there's a great future. So yes, Festival of the Bands. We're very fortunate in this district to have an exceptionally strong fine arts program, and they were on showcase again on Monday night. It's incredible to watch all 6 high school bands come out and put on performances that are just mind-boggling. And so we're very grateful for the incredible work of all of our students. These students put in a lot of hours, I know, because I have 2 in my house. And they work to very high standards. These band directors do not allow students to slack off. They learn discipline, they learn creativity, they learn hard work, they learn failure and how to get up from that failure and carry on again. And so we're very proud of the work of all of our high school band director staff and the students. This includes dance troops and color guard troops on all of our campuses, and they do an exceptional job. And this one, I think, is my favorite. We want to talk a little bit about the staff that we have. Oh, and you see, I got so excited to get into that confidence picture that I nearly forgot your duty tonight. And so in your folders, if you wouldn't mind, please, taking out your learning model. You gave it away, actually. I saw that look on your face. I tried. You all have a marker, and so your job tonight, as we go through the rest of this presentation, and if I'm going to give you a second now to just reflect on that first part on Festival of the Bands, is to circle the things that you find that we talk about in this presentation, very brief, that occur on the learning model. So as you go, and of course this is education, so it'll be an assessment. I'm going to be checking on you afterwards to see what you found. Okay. All right, moving on. All right, here's our empowered staff. We're very fortunate in this district to have an education foundation who values the work that our staff does. And so they made a presentation to our Fine Arts Department on Monday night at Festival of the Bands for over $14,000 to go towards really making the experiences of our students a top priority in the district. And so we're very grateful to Colleen and Shannon for the work that they do to make these kinds of donations to the district possible. Another one of the things that we thrive on in the district is the joy of learning. And so this is an empowered staff thought, and you can just see, in my opinion, the joy of learning happening not only for the students but for the teacher too. And so this is the Bluebonnet Stomp at Mason Elementary School, and we'll come back to it in a second, but for me this was the capture of an incredible moment in time. Some folks have forgotten that we do still have a virtual learning academy in the district, and so although they're virtual, they do come together in person every now and then, and so this was their literacy evening. I'm thrilled that they have t-shirts. I think that's really cool. I love their logo. And again, you can see the joy of our staff. These staff members have been empowered to educate in this environment. So not only is this necessary for some of our kids, but it's also a place where some of our staff really thrive. I've visited with these teachers, and they love teaching in this environment, and that could be very challenging for some of the others. George Couros says that the three most important things in education are relationships, relationships, and relationships, and how powerful for our virtual teachers who mostly only see their kids online to have that moment when they can have that human relationship, that human interaction, and you can just see the joy and the love that exists between our faculty and our students. So back to the Bluebonnet Stomp, our kids have this incredible opportunity to have a great experience, not only fun and outside in the great weather that we're having, but also a learning experience about how it takes a seed to die and to freeze before it can give birth to that life and that beauty that comes in the spring. And so a lot of fun putting those seeds out and making sure they get stomped well into the ground. And then they'll talk about it a lot over the winter time and what joy they'll experience when those flowers bloom in the spring. Some of our Virtual Learning Academy students coming together, perhaps for the first time, meeting each other in person. I love this picture because it points to the fact of the really complex interaction that has to happen in our district on a regular basis, and that is the interaction between students, teachers, and you can see the parents connected here too. And that partnership is so important and so powerful for us that we have all three of those working really closely and tightly together, so that we can really ignite the interests and develop the passions of our students and unleash their inner potential. And we have to create safe and innovative learning environments for this to happen. So here's an aerial shot of Elementary School 30 under construction. It takes a lot to put an elementary school of this size on the ground. So I want to point out a couple of things from this photo. You can see the slab in the center. Just northeast of that, you can see where they're building the tilt wall panels on site. And so all of that work that you see just east of the slab is the tilt wall happening. I'll show you that in a second. In that sea that you see on the right-hand side, you can see the dots where the geothermal wells are going in. This is something that the district has done for a very long time. It creates a lot of energy efficiency for these campuses as they go under construction. It's a lot of work on the front end. You can see there are a lot of different wells that are getting drilled there that will eventually help moderate the temperature of the building. The roads around the perimeter are something that we've been working diligently on for a long time with the city. This tract does not yet have a developer, but will at some point in time. And so we are developing those roads right now, and at some point in time we'll have an agreement with the developer to turn those roads over to the city of Leander. And so lots happening on that site. This is a close-up of the slab that's been poured. The slab that exists that you saw there is just for one side of the building. This is the two-story portion of the building of our prototype elementary school. And so that will go up first. You can see the drainage bins that are going in on the site to manage the stormwater on that site. And then this is the tilt wall. And so this is a process that is exciting for us because this is insulated tilt wall. It gets constructed on site, and then the crane will come in and stand those up. That should be happening in the next week or so, just depending on the crane that is currently at a different site, and whether it can get out or not after the rain is the question right now. And then we'll end with over 2,000 of our kids Monday night performing all together, the Land of 1,000 Dances. And it's just incredible to see our student voice so strong in the district. The stadium was packed. I think that's the most people I've ever seen at Festival of Bands. We had a beautiful evening, and it's just so great to have our kids performing for the entire community. And so with that, I hope you have completed your learning model and identified all the things that as we go through such a multitude of different activities across the district, we know that our kids are and our staff are focused on learning and student learning at the very center of everything that we do. And so I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Board members, any questions?
Can we get on the schedule time to go visit the construction on that elementary
Yes, ma'am.
school? And then just for a point of clarification, earlier we had, during citizen comments, a question about the early learning centers. And for our community, they may have been confused because it was on our agenda, now it's not. Can we just give an update on that next step?
Yes, absolutely. As we were processing through the recommendation that the Long Range Planning Committee provided and that we shared with you at the last board meeting, we really thought about the fact that the way that we're proposing the Early Childhood Center was not proposed that way in the 2023 bond materials. And so we are taking that recommendation to the Bond Oversight Committee to make sure that we have input from them, and then we'll bring you back both the Long Range Planning recommendation and the Bond Oversight Committee recommendation at the next board meeting.
And I just want to clarify, that information was sent to all of the members of the Long Range Planning Committee?
Correct. So we updated them to make sure that they understood the process that we were taking, the extra step.
Christine?
Well, I was just going to say I appreciate the transparency there because I know that we want to make sure that we're doing this correctly and that we're, you know, not only being transparent with our community but making sure that we do this right from the very beginning. I really want to applaud the Long Range Planning Committee. I think we have a lot of people in the room. We have a lot of people in the room with differing opinions, and everybody's coming together really well to work together to move our district forward. So if any of our LRP folks are watching, just want to say thank you so much for all that work. It's a lot, and being in that room and listening to everyone kind of wrestle with some things has not been easy. And so I appreciate the district recognizing what the recommendation was and then making sure that Bond Oversight is aware. Thank you.
Absolutely.
If there are no other questions, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next agenda item. Board members, we're going to be moving around. We're going to go to 7B1, the culture of voting resolution. 7B1, culture of voting resolution. We're going to move around just for a little bit.
That seems next. Oh, consent. We're not doing consent. I get it. So, yeah, we already did consent.
Well,
I see, we're moving.
Yeah, we have guests later
We're
on,
okay.
so we're
I'm
going
like,
to move
where are we
around
moving?
until
What
the
is
students get here. Yes.
Got it. So for the resolution to support and promote a culture of voting, is there any presentation, or are we just going straight to questions?
Well, Legislative Board Chair, do you
Yeah.
want to talk to our other board members
Can
about this
absolutely talk to that if y'all
resolution,
want.
please? Thank you.
Absolutely. Board members, we have, Legislative Committee talked about community engagement, and one of the vital functions of community engagement is to be empowered and equipped to be able to vote in their elections. That's whether you're students, that's actually required, as you'll see here in a resolution. It's actually in our election code that requires protection of employees' right to vote. We also have details in our education code that requires us to promote our students being able to register to vote. But this is just a place for us to be able to, as a board, all be aligned on this is what we mean when we say a culture of voting. And a culture of voting is getting out there and voting in the elections. Whether there's an LISD item or not, I would argue that every item impacts our community and our citizens. A large majority of items are going to impact them directly. So getting out and voting helps make that difference. I would also say that this resolution, if you'll go through it, you'll see kind of some of the things that say it much better than I can as far as articulating what we're saying is whereas we're going to be creating this culture of voting. And then also we have some suggestions in here, but I don't think that should be like all of it. Again, as staff starts thinking, somebody recommended to me, hey, you know, when you have new hires, because we do have new hires that come from out of state, do we have a registration card in there? Because that might not be the first thing on their mind. And then all of a sudden elections coming up, they can vote in it, but they might have missed the deadline to vote. We do have our voting deadline in Texas coming up, October 10th. So I'm hoping that also us being able to adopt this now helps get the awareness out there and helps continue to increase that civic engagement in our community.
So it's the registration deadline, just a slight correction. You said voting deadline, October 10th.
Voting registration deadline.
But the other piece that this covers, the resolution covers, is also education, having people being educated voters and just promoting that voter education.
I just want to say thanks to the Legislative Committee for putting this forward. I think it's really important. I mean, we know that the numbers in Texas, especially, voter turnout is extremely low, especially in an off-year election, or if something is held in May, it's always a tough one too. So great job, you guys. I'm happy to see this.
And I do want to say thank you to SCR. I know if y'all have been to a middle school football game, we have the League of Women Voters out there now registering our community members to get out and vote. I particularly love this resolution because I feel like it gives our campuses the directive to really get out and get people registered to vote. I know before I got on the board, I just remember trying to organize a voter registration drive through PTA, and I wanted to throw my computer at the wall. I'm just going to be honest, but again, it shouldn't be like that. We should, show our students that their power is in their vote. And so I appreciate the Legislative Committee and Trish bringing this to the board. Board, this is an action item tonight, so if there's no other discussions, I'm going to need a motion.
I move that the Board of Trustees adopt the resolution to support and promote a culture of voting as presented.
Second.
I have a motion from Francesca, a second from Sade. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? No. 5-0. Motion passes. Good job, Legislative Committee. I know. And next, board, we're going to go right on to 7B2, legislative priorities for the October 2023 special session. For those that don't know, we have a special session coming up. Is this you, Bruce? Wait. All right, Trish, our legislative chair.
So, board members and community, what you see in front of you is two different things. You're seeing the priorities, kind of the paperwork that we'll put out there that highlights the main priorities, and a resolution to kind of help add some more clarity, details on why it is the things that we pulled out are the things that we've pulled out. And so as a legislative committee, we've talked extensively about what does a voucher or ESA mean to public education. And from the studies, the reviews, the research, the discussions, over and over again, we keep coming back to that it is not necessarily about the program. It is about what that program means and how it dismantles public education when you start looking at the studies and the research across the United States. In general, there's no evidence that vouchers are associated with significant sustained improvement in student test scores. Evidence isn't conclusive because there are many types of different voucher systems out there. Studies show vouchers provide positive, any studies that are saying vouchers provide positive academic outcomes, well, they're not showing that it's marginalized gains, and some of them aren't showing the negative or even no academic outcomes. So there's no conclusive evidence on these programs. There's some statement of parent satisfaction study. However, when you go look at those studies, because that's what you do in your free time when you're on the legislative committee, is there's no comparison to satisfaction of parents to students who are in public school, and 41% have responded in one of the studies that they were neither satisfied nor dissatisfied when asked if they prefer a new school over old. ESAs do not, the ones that are being proposed, do not change that private schools are not required to meet the same academic standards or community engagement standards as public schools. They don't have publicly elected boards, and they don't report test results or performance measures. ESA programs, it says one individual, in order for it to work well, they need to have program clarity. They need to have clarity, they need to have details, they need services to the students to be clearly explained, and then they go on to say in one article on ESAs that there are many reports from Arizona and Florida and elsewhere where someone provides ESA service to students and then they're going to wait weeks for agency staff to approve the expenditure, so then your providers continue to drop out. Basically what you're seeing is the providers that continue to participate on these things or vouchers are giving private schools, not parents, rights to choose. Also, vouchers quickly double in size. Again, we looked at different studies, and in recent months, Arizona went from serving 12,000 ESA families to more than 50,000. Florida is currently moving to serving 350,000 ESA students. Using tax dollars to pay for tuitions at private schools would grow a costly entitlement program, and the problem is Article 3 funding is limited, according to what our lawmakers keep telling us. There are programs, there are systems in place. Of course we want to improve and get better, but the various types of voucher programs and hybrids, like the ESA version we've seen proposed in Texas, still offers little clarity on what the proposed system will actually address. There's no data to show the system designed by Texas will actually even address those concerns. But it is going to start a new program. It will divert funding from our currently constitutionally mandated public schools. And basically, I would say that there's a study in 2014 that estimates that one standard deviation increase in math scores due to improved teacher quality boosts the value of lifetime earnings by $42,000 for a student. It implies then a test score loss, which this study says was suffered by LSP participants, that was some who participated in the ESA program, in 1 year, may be worth as much as $17,000 lost income per student. Again, there are studies out there you can go and just research forever, as we have been doing. Studies are not conclusive that ESAs are helping. In fact, there's showing that they're negative, and yet we're still seeing propositions, discussions of trying to address Article 3 funding, which we need for our public education students, the 5.4 million students that are currently in our public education classrooms. We need to address not only our public education students, but our public education teachers, our staff, and our public education parents, because you're looking at all parents right here on the board. Dismantling Article 7 is a big deal, which is why you see such strong language on no to vouchers. Basically, Article 7 says that it's constitutionally mandated to provide a general diffusion of knowledge, being essential to the preservation of liberties and rights of the people. It shall be the duty of the legislature of the state, and the state to establish and make suitable provisions for the support and maintenance of an efficient system of public free schools. And our resolution is saying that hasn't been done, and we're telling you what would help.
That was really good, Trish. Good job. Francesca?
I just wanted to say thank you to the Legislative Committee for bringing this forward, especially as a special education parent, where the allotments have not been increased since 1991, to take more money away from our schools in general, which includes our special education population, and to give it to schools that are not required to educate special education students. It's a problem, and it's disappointing, and I really appreciate all of the work that the Legislative Committee is doing here.
And also, without the increases to whether it's the SPED allotment or the basic allotment, those are basically cuts. Effectively, those are cuts to public education because we are dealing with increased costs of everything. And so without those increases, that's really a cut. And they want to make further cuts effectively by not providing for public schools, but then providing for a private school.
I was going to ask Dr. Gehring if you would go ahead, because we talked about in the committee, as we're looking at this language, kind of what are we saying is like our grounding, our due north as we're looking at these priorities, being our students.
You want me to speak to that? Yeah. Tell me one more time.
Yeah, no.
I'm
So
not
I
understanding.
asked, well, here's the thing is, as a legislative committee, we've tried hard to stay in our lane, but vouchers keep coming into our lane. And so one of the things we talked about on the committee, and I think you said it eloquently, about the fact that we were going to be grounded in fighting for our students, because education is something that you provide to every student. But you said it far more eloquently than I did.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we keep our focus on our job, and our job is to educate each and every student that comes to us in public schools. And as public schools, we accept every student, no matter who they are, no matter where they come from, no matter what they look like, no matter what they bring with them. If they live inside the boundaries of our district, they get to come and we get to educate them. And it's an honor and a privilege for us to do that. We want to make sure that we're focusing all of our attention and energy on that process of meeting the needs of each and every student that is living in our boundaries that wants to come to public school. I don't mind school choice, but I do mind when public dollars are taken away from public schools to pay for that choice. And so we want to be very clear about that. And it is something that we will fight for, because our public school students deserve it.
I would like to say what I love about our priorities is that it really lays out what is happening in our schools. A great example is we know special education in Texas. We've seen surrounding districts have the spotlight on them for not doing certain things. We all know why we got here. We had a special education cap imposed by those above, and the refusal to update the state special education allotment. And what frustrates me as a board member and as a trustee and as a parent with 2 kids in special education is that the districts are put in the middle. The districts are having to figure out how to provide services with funds that don't exist. And I'm happy to say that our district, we spent $33 million more on special education because we value our students' education opportunities. But think of all the other districts in the state of Texas who don't have that opportunity or that drive, because those students are missing out. And I think that's the part that frustrates me, is that parents are angry and they're frustrated, and really where they need to be getting angry and frustrated is going into that ballot box and voting for public education. So I just want to say, Christina, thank you for laying this out. That information, when you get to that core center and you start talking about why is this impacting you, people's heads light up. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anna, since you mentioned the school finance portion, which the first part was vouchers, the second part is school finance, if I can also just say, LISD also supports local control. And when you say local control, I want to point out that local control is our community voting, our community being on committees, our community's participation in DWIC, and then the board hearing those recommendations and moving forward. It's that coordination of local control that is so important to public education. And when there are laws or legislation that's passed that takes some of that parent voice away or asks the board to do something else besides listening to that parent voice, that puts us in a really hard position, because then parents are frustrated going, why aren't you listening to me about this issue? So this is another issue where we see, we find out 3 areas where we see public education, the infrastructure's crumbling in 3 unique areas, and they're all very much impacting us in our classrooms that we're seeing today.
And board members, I want you to also look, there's a resolution from the Board of Trustees regarding adequate funding for public schools. That's also on there as well. Any other questions? This is up for approval tonight, and I just want to add, we all know what Monday is coming, and board members, if these are approved tonight, these are your legislative priorities as a board, so you know what to do.
I move the Board of Trustees approve the LISD legislative priorities for the October 2023 special legislative session and the resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Leander Independent School District regarding adequate funding for public schools as presented.
I second.
I have a motion from Christine, a second from Francesca. Any discussion? No. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, 0. 5-0, motion passes. Good job, board members. I'm excited to advocate with y'all at the Capitol.
And thank you to Legislative Committee. There's been a lot of work and a lot of discussions, and it was amazing work getting a lot of details together. So thank you, committee.
All right, board, we're going to move around, and we are now going to go back to 7A.1, Community-Based Accountability Report. Hello, Brenda. Hello, Matt. Welcome.
He said, when are we bringing up our friends? I said, in just a minute. The friends are here, right?
I mean, let's be honest. We know why we're here.
Exactly, exactly. So good evening. We are very excited this evening to share with you our 2022-2023 community-based accountability presentation. And so this is that piece that really speaks, as I say, to who we are as Leander. This is our story, right? We get, sometimes you see me up here and I'm talking about the state accountability system, which I'll be coming back to do at some point with my colleague Emily Gray. But this is the so much more, right? This is the and part. So this is about our story with the lens of our students, our parents, and our community. So tonight we're going to be focusing on 2 areas, which are Goal 1, our empowered student learning, and Goal 4, our equitable access. So in a time when our state accountability system is clarifying their direction, as I call it, right, we are going to be continued to be focused on our true north. So the documents that you see here, which are our vision and mission, our core beliefs, and our graduate profile, those are not just words. Those are the hopes, those encapsulate the hopes and the dreams that our community stated that they want. So it's really in our beliefs, and those are not always easily measured. And they are certainly not measured in our state accountability system. So how we hold ourselves accountable and how we determine that evidence of success, how we measure that, is what community-based accountability is all about. So our community-based accountability system is it's a framework within our 5-year strategic plan that you see there on the left, that you see our documents that we just discussed. And it is through a community-based accountability system that we look at this really as a continuous improvement effort. It is continuous. It is not where we're seeking perfection, because our community, our students, our staff is ever evolving, right? And so we evolve with their needs in mind and keeping that community at heart. So we are really always thinking it through the lens of what are our strengths, what are those areas of improvement. We look at root causes of outcomes. We are really collaborating with the community to determine what are our next steps based on the information that we have. Keeping that always at the heart is that community and especially our students. And going back to that learning model, very center of that learning model, right? Focusing on students. And it really allows our campuses in our district to share that much richer, deeper story that is within each one of those buildings. It's about the hopes and dreams that sit in those classrooms each and every day, as I say, right? So we have a very special video that Mr. Pace is going to cue up here in just a minute. And this special video, I'd like to really give a special nod and a thank you to Daniel Cernero and Christian Marcelli from our communications team. So came to them and we said, okay, we're thinking this, right? And they made it come to life. And so we are very thrilled with what this has turned out to be. It is not the perfection that, right? She's like, hurry up, Brenda, hurry. So, Mr. Pace, would you cue that up? Because the people in this video can say it so much better than I can.
We've worked extremely hard as a system to develop core beliefs, to develop a vision and a mission, which then established what our strategic goal areas were, which turned into eventually our 5-year strategic plan. And we're in year 2 of that strategic plan. In year 2, we are working hard with our district and campus improvement. We've worked extremely hard as a system to develop core beliefs, to develop a vision and a mission, which then established what our strategic goal areas were, which turned into eventually our 5-year strategic plan. And we're in year 2 of that strategic plan. In year 2, we are working hard with our district and campus improvement plans to make sure that the work that we're doing on a daily basis is heading us towards those big goals of strategic plan. And community-based accountability is our annual report back on how are we doing in that work.
The community-based accountability system is about seeing our hopes and dreams come to life in the classroom. Originally back in the day, the TOS, and then it went to TAX, and then it went to STAR, and now we have STAR 2.0. That's a lot of changing of assessment of test. And our strategic plan helps empower and inform our community-based accountability system.
A community-based accountability system really leans into Leander's legacy of continuous improvement and community involvement and keeping the student at the center of everything that we do. Each campus has its own special traits, community, hopes and dreams for their students.
I'm a product of Leander ISD. I grew up here, and so that sense of family and belonging is very important to me. Share your time, talent, or treasure to benefit our community. As a parent, if you aren't involved, then find a way to get involved. If you're not trying to find ways to get involved and get your questions answered, you need to.
I feel like our teachers are always there to support us, take the good with the bad, and really help us try to be better people, not just only better students.
Teachers are always striving for, being able to build that community within our classrooms, building that community here at Parkside, and then also growing that into LISD as well.
I think accountability is extremely important because it really holds us to get done what we said we would do. But federal and state accountability is very narrow. It's only one piece of what we're trying to accomplish as a district. So this community-based accountability report in particular outlines all of the things that we're doing to develop the whole child and not just this one-day snapshot of
a test score.
What are parents really valuing? What do they want their children to come away from when they leave LISD? And that's really important for us as teachers, because even though we have this state accountability test at the end of the year and we're teaching to the TEKS, we're also looking at what are other things that the community wants as their child grows. There's other things that socially kids need. They need to understand that there is a community and feeling safe at school and being loved at school. And when you see that love and that community, those kids are going to grow as learners.
So again, I thank our Community Relations Department for putting that together and for all of the stakeholders involved in sharing their story. That's what the foundation of a community-based accountability is, exactly that. So it is, I loved the student that said it's about us learning how to even become just a better person, right? And that's what we hope for all of our students, right? It's looking at that graduate profile, those attributes, those are all creating that adult that we hope our children become, right? So, when we look at our strategic focus areas and goals, we have the 5 areas of empowered student learning, empowered staff, impactful family engagement, equitable access, and our safe and innovative learning environment. So it is through these 5 areas that really paints that portrait of Leander ISD. We tonight will look at our first one, empowered student learning, and our 4th one, equitable access. The community-based accountability system complements our state accountability system. So as I said before, they're clarifying direction. So our state accountability information has been delayed until toward the end of this month or early November, but we're moving straight forward, right? So if we look at the right column, in that dark blue column, you can see that we are looking at various measures that we hold ourselves accountable to. They are certainly not a comprehensive list, but you can see things on there such as the universal screeners, you can see elective participation, survey data that we're going to be sharing with you tonight from our students, our parents, and course and program participation as well. So as we look at the information that's going to be shared tonight, you will see some results from those surveys. So I wanted to share a little bit with you of what does that look like when we have that survey participation. And you can see from our elementary students that we held steady this year compared to the previous one, with 79% the previous year. Our secondary students and our parent numbers increased. And we certainly want to see that. We desire more, certainly even with our secondary students. And getting that voice is so important. And we're going to actually hear from a couple here in just a few minutes. But that is what helps create a much richer, deeper story, the more information that we can gather. And so I also want to call attention that just about a little over a week ago, we posted our 2022-23 report online. And so I encourage everyone to please go in and view that story on each page. And I think that's what it really tells the gifts that we are given each and every day. Right, in our district. We are blessed with that this is not just a one day, one test, one rating. This is about the each and every day that happens in Leander ISD. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Benz, and he will start you off this evening with Goal 1, Empowered Student Learning.
All right. Good evening, Madam Vice President, Madam Secretary, and other esteemed trustees, and my boss, Dr. Gearing. Good to see everybody. So, like Brenda said, we're going to start with our goal number 1, empowered student learning. And as you'll notice, each goal has more than one key question. Y'all were a part of developing those. So we will go through a couple of these key questions for empowered student learning. We'll talk a little bit about equitable access in a moment. So let's start with that first key question under empowered student learning. You can see it up on the screen, sort of. To what degree do students have that opportunity to engage in meaningful learning experiences, bless you, to deeply explore and investigate areas of aptitude and interest, and build real life skills for their future? So as we look at this slide, I want to direct your attention to that graph on the left. So we're looking at the student experience itself, questions focusing on the student experience with this survey dimension score. And as you can see here, across the board, for our elementary students, our secondary students, and our parents, we are seeing growth in their perceptions about the opportunities to have those quality student experiences in our system. And there's a lot of things that those experiences might look like. We see them during our highlights. We see them when we have guests from our different campuses. We see them in Bruce's superintendent's report. You see them when you go out on campuses. Here's just a couple on the screen here. It might be the robotics team, math pentathletes, destination imagination teams. These student experiences that Leander ISD offers really stick with our students. You have a table right there in the middle to the right on the slide here. And we are going to be looking through all of the key sub-questions, and for each dimension, and looking at areas to celebrate and areas where we want to grow and or unpack the data further to kind of understand it better. One of the things that jumps out off of this table is at the secondary level, see in blue, the 14 percentage point growth with our secondary students feeling that what is learned in school helps them become a better person. So first of all, I love that idea of becoming a better person, and that they're seeing that their school experience, their student experience in LISD does positively impact that. And just seeing a 14 percentage point growth in anything with secondary students is super duper amazing, especially relative to, that's a pretty strong impact that's happening there. One of the things we're digging deeper into that I don't have an explanation for yet, is this 7% decrease you see on the elementary line relative to what I learn in school helps me be a better person, develop character and personal values. I really don't want to see that number go down. On the other hand, we also have conversations and discussions with our families about our joint responsibility to develop personal values and character and things, and that our families are the first point of contact for that, and we support their priorities. So we're still on key question number 1 here, but in this one we're going to be focusing on meaningful learning. So let's take a look at that. So when we look at that meaningful learning dimension and dig into some of the secondary data, that second question, you see that from the left in those graphs, that second set of bars is, again, really fascinating. We have a lot of room to grow in the secondary area in many of our questions, to be sure, but to see another area where we have this jump, 22 percentage point growth, right? And the question is, it's really small on my paper, and it's almost as small on that document, but the idea is students feeling and perceiving that they have opportunities to engage in learning that's relevant to their interests, relevant to their passions, and their goals. And that is so important, and that's something you all, as trustees, have talked about with leadership, have built into your core values, and our mission and vision is that idea of students having those relevant experiences and opportunities to tap into and also discern their passions and interests. So we're sitting here talking about meaningful learning experiences, and I feel like, mine was longer than Brenda's lead up to the video, is the lead up to the students who have been sitting here patiently. And who better to talk about meaningful learning experiences in LISD than two of our students. And so I'm going to let y'all introduce yourselves and your grade levels and what schools y'all go to. And I got mics.
Hello, I'm Fate Lee, a senior at Vista Ridge High School.
Thanks. I'm Samantha Chi. I'm a senior at Vandergrist.
All right, so I'm going to just have one question for you. And so when we talk about meaningful learning experiences in Leander ISD, can you speak to your own personal Leander ISD experiences and how they have fostered your interests, your passions, how they have built your real life skills? Oh, we got a regular mic for you.
For me, recently I've been doing a lot of talking about pursuing a college major, and for a long time I really didn't know what I wanted to do. But with my electives, I'm in band, and this year I'm doing soccer as well. And those have been a huge time commitment, but they've been really special and really great programs. And then in the meantime, I've been working with my counselors and stuff, and I think I'm applying to study environmental science. And so I'm doing some clubs and stuff to be interested in that, yeah.
I'm a very overly involved student, some might say, but that just means that there's too many great options and I have to choose all of them. But I'll keep it brief. Two of the most meaningful experiences I would say I've had are in yearbook. I am a senior now, and I've been involved in yearbook since 7th grade, so I think that puts me at 5 years under my belt. And through yearbook, even though I'm not necessarily going to go into journalism or photography or graphic design or something, yearbook has allowed me to develop really great transferable skills, particularly interpersonal ones. So that manifests in interviewing people and being comfortable talking to strangers and getting the story out of them and learning that everyone has a story. And then also managing a yearbook staff. I'm design editor this year, and I was design editor last year, but that has really taught me leadership skills. Oh, and I called it a staff because we really treat ourselves kind of like a workplace, because I had a former advisor that said yearbook is one of those clubs, or not one of those clubs, is one of the only classes where your homework is getting paid for by people, and they're paying a lot of money for it. So it's really taught me kind of what a workplace is like, what time management is like, what managing other people is like, and then also developed tangible skills, I can use a camera, I can take photos, I know graphic design really well, and I'm able to actually do that at a professional level, freelance work and making some money, and writing skills, which has really come into play with college apps and stuff. I was able to write a piece that got published in the New York Times, which I don't think I would have done without yearbook. So that is, that's probably my most meaningful extracurricular experience.
Anything else y'all want to add? Because this is the best part of the presentation right now, so we might as well let it ride for a minute. Not to put you on the spot, but maybe you just thought of something while your friend was talking, and it's oh yeah.
Or trustees, if you have any questions for them, please.
I mean, we're both in SSAC, which is a committee where we get to work with kids around the district and talk about, and then we break into committees and we talk about how we can improve stuff, and then we compare schools. That's been a really special experience.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then talking about I heard real world relevance and applications come up, and not teaching just to one single test or one metric. Even in my AP classes, AP Physics, I'm in Physics C this year, I took AP Physics 1 last year. I would expect that to be a class where it's okay, we're really teaching to the AP test. That's all we're focused on, head down, FRQs all year and stuff, but I've been very fortunate to have a great physics teacher and experience in LISD where all the content that I'm learning is being connected to other subjects, so it makes like calculus make more sense because it's like, oh, that's how this particle moves and stuff, and it's that math that explains it. So connections between subjects and then connections to the real world has been even seen in my AP classes, so that's cool.
Board members, do you have any questions?
Yes, definitely. So I just want to say I knew Fate when I worked back at Reagan, and she was a little tiny girl, and look at you graduated. I'm so excited for you. I tell Olive I said hi. I just want to tell you, I think, you know, hearing you guys talk about those real world translatables or transferable skills like you talked about, I know that when we talk about things that are done outside the classroom, and it's interesting how it's usually inside the classroom or outside the classroom, this feels like there's a lot of transference there. Like it's not all just contained in one space, right? It's you're jumping from one thing to the other. So I just want to say, amazing, great job. I know you're both going to be just fabulous people, so great job.
Thank you both for sharing your insights and enabling us to enrich this presentation with student voice.
Oh, there's going to be more questions.
Oh,
just
sorry.
hold on.
Yeah, we're
Please.
just trying to wait for each other. So I'm curious, when you talk about that connecting to your passion, one of the things we've been talking about at a board level is that extracurricular. If we can see how many of our students are in extracurricular, we see that as an opportunity for us to see that connection to passion in a different environment than academic. So in academic, we'll see connection where kids are taking AP, IB, but extracurricular. I'm hearing, though, you're also talking about clubs. Do you consider clubs also connecting to your passion? Are you involved in extracurriculars? And then my other question would be, because, you know, I have to have 3 or 4, but my other one would be, when you think about finding your passion in your extracurricular, do you think you just stumbled on it because there were so many great options, and so maybe yearbook wasn't your first guess, or band wasn't, or was it something you really thought, no, I really want to experience that? Like, how did we connect you, or how did you connect you to that extracurricular or club activity?
I think start off with like the clubs at Vandergrift. At least there's so many clubs, and then there's such a wide range. We have like a bread club and a pickleball club. If you just want to like go somewhere during our we call it pit. It's just like our flex time, yeah, to just work on whatever we want. And so that's pretty low commitment and just for fun. But there's also, like, I'm doing environmental club. There's HOSA for all the kids like interested in medical stuff. And so that like helps them pursue their interests, and that is really beneficial. We just started our environmental club, and so I'm curious to see how it's going, but that's super fun. And then for extracurriculars, like Fate, like I don't think I'm gonna pursue soccer or play an instrument in college, but I've done both like all 4 years. I've walked on the soccer team because I couldn't be in the class, but I've done both this whole time because it's just something that makes me happy and keeps me busy, and yeah, learning time management and all that.
And then for the connection piece, I've kind of found things different ways, like for like yearbook way back when in 7th grade, that was because my quest teacher in 6th grade was like, hey, I think you would really, really like this. And I was like, okay, I have an empty spot in my schedule, might as well sign up for it. And clearly she was right, because I've been in it for 5 years. And then even this past year, my physics teacher, Mr. O'Connor, convinced me to join the robotics team at Vista. And I was like, I've literally never looked at a robot in my life. I was like, I want to build it. But he's like, no, but there's a role for you. And then he really fleshed out like what robotics could be for me. So like bringing in those skills from yearbook in photography and whatnot, bringing that into robotics, which I was like, I didn't know that was an opportunity. So like teachers have connected me to it. I've also like just looked at the list and stuff on the school website, and it's like, oh, that seems really cool. I'll attend a meeting. So I ended up going to like a care club meeting and going to different things. So like seeing the information for myself in an easy to find way has connected me to clubs. And also extracurriculars and stuff, like looking at the options on like the choice sheet, talking to teachers about it, but then also the flexibility and the openness that there is in like support for extracurriculars and clubs and stuff, where there is that ranger time at Vista, where it's like flex time built into the day, where I can then go to a club. That makes it really easy for me to try something out, see if I like it. And then the openness, so I started philosophy club my junior year because there wasn't a philosophy class, so a friend and I are like, okay, let's find a teacher and let's start a philosophy club, and that's been going great. So there's a lot of great teacher support, staff support, and then so many options and time just built into the day for me to like try out some things, see what they are, and then find myself through that.
I had a question for y'all. What do you think we can do as a board, but also administration, to help improve that meaningful learning experience? So you're seniors, you've been through this. It's changed since the time you were third graders. What can we do to improve that experience for you guys?
That's a great question. We talk about this a little bit in SSAC. I was a part of the adulting committee, and I know we were talking about like how we can implement real life skills earlier, but we like separated the skills into like different ideas. We had like hard skills, which was like physical, maybe like car maintenance or like laundry or something straight up, because I have some college friends that just felt very unprepared for that. And then we also have like soft skills, which are like not physical, but it's like networking or other stuff that's just concepts that we don't really learn in our classes because the curriculum is very packed, and we're just trying to talk about ways that we could like maybe like implement that in our classes, maybe at the end of the year, or maybe like having like a workshop day like our senior summits, and to like learn our life skills.
I would say just keeping those like opportunities open as much as you can. So like I was talking about Ranger Time being a great place for me to just jump in and try things. So like continuing support of like built-in time and just like institutional support for like all these great options, so that there is something for everyone and there are opportunities for them to try it out. So just supporting that, and then supporting the things themselves. I don't know.
Yeah, so thanks for sharing your experiences. As Faith, as you were explaining or talking about your experience with yearbook, I mean, I wanted to join yearbook. I was like, you need to package that as a video so that everybody in middle school and high school needs to watch it. So, because people learn different ways. You talked about their teachers that expose people to opportunities. People read through the descriptions, but sometimes it's just not enough. Like hearing from someone who's done it and done it for that long, with the surprising experience or the surprising benefits that you can see that it can bring to you. I think those are all very valuable for others to hear.
I did have one more question. So you mentioned that y'all didn't have a certain club at your high school. What barriers did you encounter, or did you encounter any barriers? What does that process look like?
So my friend and I, we had been talking about it at the end of sophomore year. We were like, oh, we don't have a philosophy club, we don't have a philosophy class, like, I don't know, like, how do we start a club? Like, can we start a club? So we ended up talking to a teacher we knew who sponsored a club, and she's like, oh, well, step one, find a sponsor, so find a teacher. We asked a couple teachers, and they were all like, yes, of course, like, we would love to do that. And then we ended up with our sophomore English teacher, and then we really wanted to start it at the end of that sophomore year, to have it for like those last couple of months and stuff, but the only barrier I think that we got was our administrator was like, oh, we're not approving any new clubs for the rest of the school year, but make sure to email me at the start of next school year and we'll go ahead and get it set up. So we wrote a club application, we made some bylaws, and we got our sponsor on it, we made a plan, and then we submitted it, and within like 2 weeks of the school year, our club was up and running. So it was relatively easy, and like just talking to staff and figuring out the process.
I'm impressed that y'all wrote bylaws. There's a lot of adults who don't understand bylaws, so. Board members, any other questions? All right, continue.
Thank you so very, very much.
All right. I did jot down a couple of potential job hacks for myself, and I do think I may have a potential freelance writer for some of my future board memos. I know you'll notice the improvement, though, so she might have to dumb it down a little. But as we jump to the next key question on this slide, we get to key question 2, still in goal 1 for empowered learning. Key question 2 is a really beefy question, speaking about the degree to which students feel equipped with the skills and opportunities needed for, yes ma'am.
I'm sorry, but you're moving on to 1.2 or question 2. And so I just wanted to close. Is that okay? 1.1, since I have a question about that?
Yeah, sure, let's do that.
Wait, are we going to do questions now after each section or after?
Yeah, what do you want? What do y'all want to do?
What does the board want? Between each section or after? Because I was waiting till after.
I think we should do it as we go on.
As we go? Okay.
I was going to have Fate write it in the board memo, but hey, we can do it any way you guys want.
So on page 9, there's where you're talking about our meaningful learning. And you say that there's an area where improvement is possible. Future initiatives could be aimed at improving student awareness of their strengths as well as opportunities for growth. I love this, and I see alignment to our DIP that we just adopted this evening on consent. Because under our DIP in goal 1, question 1, and the strategies in there, we have student portfolios. And
Yes.
so you already know that I was going to come up with this question, which is that something to help with that alignment that you could take back to CBAS and further explore of maybe how we can showcase student portfolios of how many we have or what's going on or kind of how that area is growing, because it seems like that's a strategy we have in our DIP to grow to that direction.
Absolutely. And just-in-time questioning, how's that? So absolutely, that we can take that back to our community-based accountability leadership team. And we have actually been talking within the leadership team about how do we take our community-based accountability system and really bring it even further down. So, right, it's almost looking at that balcony view from the district level, and how are we bringing it down to that campus community level. And that really speaks to then how are we developing the opportunities for each of our students at whichever level that may be to showcase their strengths, their areas where they want to set goals, areas where they want to track that progress. And that may be academic, it may not be academic. It can be a combination, right, of both. Just as you heard our 2 students speaking this evening, it is about the various opportunities that bring them the real life skills that they may employ. And so absolutely we're talking about that already on our community-based accountability leadership team, and how will that look for this year, what's that work that needs to be accomplished, and talk about just in time, meeting with a group of principals early tomorrow morning for coffee, very early morning, to actually have that conversation of what is it we want that to look like, how do we pilot that, with few campuses, with some of our staff, with our students, and what that would look like. So just-in-time question, great.
To piggyback off that, I feel like we kind of already do that at some campuses.
Yes. We
now.
do. We
And so
absolutely.
I guess my question is we've seen certain campuses, I'm
We
not going to
do.
name them, but we know they've been doing it for 2 to 3 years,
Mhm.
and I can see it in my children's.
Correct.
It's pretty amazing work.
Correct.
So I guess my question is how are we going to be able to, we're a large system, I hate to
Mhm.
say that,
Mhm.
but and we really want each campus to be able to do what's best for their community, right? What works at Tarvin's not necessarily is going to work
Correct.
at Aiken. So how, I'm just curious, like how are y'all going to be able to measure that when each student's portfolio and campus experience is different than what happens at each campus? So I guess you don't need to answer it now, but I'm just curious to know, like, I'm curious to hear what our principals have to say, I guess, in that conversation, because I feel like right now what we have, the profiles for each of our students really are unique to their campus and what they offer, but they all still aligned with our strategic plan. So I just,
Correct.
we'll talk about it later. I just had some questions.
Correct. And you are absolutely correct. We do have it already happening with some of our student portfolios at campuses. And actually, I think it's Dr. Benz who will be bringing that back during our one of our leading measures conversations.
That's it. So when we start talking about the action steps and how the progress we're making, we do have it spreading across more of our campuses. And I think we definitely, while we want to empower campuses and leaders and teachers to develop digital portfolios and exhibitions and things like that that make sense for where they're at in their community and what they want to showcase, we can definitely, I would love to start, pulling together some of that information about where it's happening, grade levels and things, and bring you a couple of examples just to look at. And because it's great stuff. Also, just earlier this week, our MLISD technology team, shout out to them. They've built this whole website of resources, or kind of a hub of resources on the knowledge base. It's found on the knowledge base right now, just to give guidance on how to start that process of developing digital portfolios and what some of your options are and resources that are available. And they're ready, and they've been working with campuses on this already. We're working on how to get that connected into the learning model, and also kind of so that you can shoot right to it on the website and look what's there. I will say there's like a lot of overlay and in our key questions and some of the sub questions that we do. So for instance, on key question 2, one of the biggies is that student ownership of learning, goal setting and tracking. So in any solid digital portfolio, it's going to be built around goal setting and tracking. And as you can see in that table or that graph on the right side of the screen, we have some growth in those areas, right? And so I'm not even on the right page now, so let me get to that. We have, so you can see at the elementary level, there are more, an increasing number of elementary students that are setting goals. This is more of a kind of a black and white. They know, am I setting goals and tracking that in my class? Yes. And so more of them at the elementary level. Already, that's something you do a little bit more already in secondary, but we're holding steady. We want to start working on that area. And our parents and staff, our parents see it happening more. Our staff is doing it more. And that came out during our staff piece as well. And then just relative to the whole dimension of empowered learning, this is some really impressive growth that our system has been working on our campuses relative to students feeling empowered, feeling equipped with those skills and opportunities they need for academic and personal growth. See 7 percentage points. That is a very respectable amount of growth in 1 year for elementary, 9 percentage points in secondary. What I really want to celebrate, I want to celebrate a lot of things, but I keep coming back to that idea, sometimes when we got some of our first year baseline data, we were, some of the secondary data is a little bit lower. We worried, okay, we have to focus some of our work there. Our campus leaders at the secondary level, our teachers in our middle school and high school campuses are making inroads, and some of our most respectable gains that they have achieved have been found with the secondary students, and that's very promising. So 9 percentage points there, and the parents are seeing it. The best part about it is our communication across the system is improving to the point where the parent data aligns. Kids see it, and the parents see it too. So we're really not seeing things where the kids are like, no, I hate it. Oh, I love it. It really does align across our system. So that's promising from our standpoint. So as we continue with key question number 2, it also, you're going to get a lot more academic achievement data. I believe just 2 weeks from now, we're going to be looking at ISIP data, MAP data, CCMR data, accountability and STAR data. All this is part of the big picture, right? But we wanted to give you a couple of data points here relative to academic achievement. So we're going to I'll start on the right and look at the PSAT data. And I could talk about this data, and I can talk about this data as long as we want to, but the long story short with this data is, if I had a laser pointer on this, and I don't know what I do, but if I did, I would circle that 1920 data right there, that second data set from the left for 1920, and then I would circle the 22-23 data. And I would show that for the state, the country, and Leander ISD, we're back. We are back. We're finally coming back to those pre-pandemic levels. And really what you see in terms of data dips and data differentials really has come down to starting and most specifically and the most evidently 2021. That test happens in fall of each year. So fall of 2020, usually I put that little bit of time out of my mind, but fall of 2020, that test was in person. Were the human beings in our system in person? Not that many of them, but the test was in person. And so what you got here, not just in LISD, but across the state of Texas and the nation, was those hardcore future National Merit Scholars or future hopeful National Merit Scholars that were dedicated and committed, and nothing's going to keep them from that test. We've worked really hard as a system to ensure that all of our students have the opportunity to take the PSAT, right? And when we look at historical data and historical participation rates, we have it on our campuses during the school day. Everybody takes it. Not in that year, hardly anybody took it. And then even that fall of 2021, more people took it, but still far, far, far fewer students than that, in the upper 95th, 96th, 97th percentile as far as our percent of our total enrollment. This past fall, we're back with every student showing up for school, taking the test, and we actually, I'll also just give you a little bit more information about that. When you look at where we are, that 46%, although it's above state and above the United States average, as LISD always should be, there's a story in there. And this is what it is. Our reading readiness, our reading benchmark, the percentage of our students meeting benchmark in reading was 73%. 73%. And students need to get credit for that, so I wanted to bring that up. Our percent of students meeting benchmark in math, 47%. And we say that out loud in transparency, the way we've been talking about our other data challenges and our other instructional and learning challenges with transparency. And this is another piece of data that reinforces why we have developed and why, thankfully, you have supported us with our system-wide initiative to improve mathematics instruction. And that initiative is already seeing fruits, and these data points will go up as we achieve parity with our math and our reading scores. Our data is going to go up with our PSATs. Now relative to this ISIP end-of-year data and MAP end-of-year data from last spring that you see here to the left, really what you're seeing is the percentage of students demonstrating reading readiness, that's the blue, and then math readiness, that's the gold, across these grade level bands that you see at the bottom. So really, it hovers around just under 3/4, or about 3/4 of our students are finishing the year in a state of readiness such that we would say they're ready for the next TEKS, the next standards, without any support or intervention. What we haven't shared today, but what we will be sharing in future dates, is more the historical data, where you'll see in each of those grade level bands that the data has increased, that we are experiencing gains. And it looks kind of weird. We just said we need a math initiative, and the reading data is lower. And been over this with Brenda and with members of my team a couple of different times just to understand better. But here's what it is. iStation, the ISIP, was renormed last year. and it was renormed, and all of the data is slightly lower. And so really, whereas when you look at our STAR data, you're going to see our reading scores continue to be higher than our math scores. Our PSAT scores, our reading scores are higher. Here, in this particular situation, that is not the case. We'll have to continue to monitor that, and I'll bring you more insights as I have them. Any questions on that slide before I move on?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
I do.
Sade.
So when I look at the 2018, 2019, it seems to mirror what we have in, 2018 to 2019 and 2019 to 2020. The first two circles mirror what we have in the most recent two. And so, but when I look at the change in the state and of the country as well, it seems like our dip was a bigger percentage than what the rest of the country or the state are seeing. And so my question is the types of supports, whether, I mean, since it's PSAT, it's a standardized test, and people talk about just it supports with practicing or supports with just the specifics to test taking that might be provided on campus for the students.
So that's an excellent question. I think I'll hand it over to Brenda, or she might actually, you don't have the ability to cut off my mic, I don't think, but excellent. Do it when it's time. I know in 17, 18, and 18, 19, we were, before everything went haywire, we were working on some different supports, additional supports for students relative to PSAT workshops and additional opportunities to prep for the PSAT. And we did see some pretty decent gains. We also had some additional focus on some of the student groups that have historically not done as well, and provided some additional support there. I would need to dig a lot deeper into that, going back to that 18-19 data, before I'd really want to say anything specific about the why.
No, I was just going to comment because my son was in this little age group, and I do believe, I remember what I loved is, for those parents that don't know, but you can get accommodations for your students with disabilities on these tests. And I remember being able, we had our transition art, and that was a big piece in there, but also we added it as there was other organizations that would come on campus that we would go and get that practice test. And so there was something else. I remember a program, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I remember it being toward PSAT, not so much test taking, not like a class during the day, but more as a resource for parents and students to use afterwards. I just can't remember where and how that went.
The other thing that I don't have the data on, but I can bring for you, is that this is 11th grade data. And talking to Ms. Bacchus in advanced programs, she was adamant and showed me on her screen about what these students had achieved as far as their 10th grade PSAT scores, and that all the students achieved growth in both areas, in math and reading. Do we have some work to do to ensure that our students maximize their opportunities relative to prepping for the PSAT? Absolutely.
And I think I want to just add that the whole reason we have a community-based accountability system is that we don't want to isolate any single data point, right? So we use these data points to help us to ask the right questions about the system and what we're doing and how we can improve student learning. We use these data points to help us to understand how individual students are growing and learning, and how we're connecting them to their interests and developing their passions. But we must be careful not to take any of those out of context, I think, in this bigger work. So it's good for us to report them out. It's also good for us to look at those and take observations like you made, Sade, and say, yes, we do need to look at that more carefully, and we do need to explore why that is and what we can do to improve. So we appreciate that.
All right, and what ends up coming out of that, some of that PSAT testing, and national norming is some celebrations, and when we think about empowered learning, that opening up opportunities and access to scholarships and things of that nature, we are able to celebrate and want to celebrate our high school campuses and their students. We had 21 National Merit semifinalists this past year and 96 commended scholars from our 6 or 7 high school campuses. So one of the things that's interesting about community-based accountability, we continue to work with our stakeholders and just discuss what other kinds of data points should we bring. Because with state accountability, it's very specific. It's STAR, right? And so with community-based accountability, what are some other things that represent our successes that potentially never see the light of day if we don't talk about them during community-based accountability or something like that? One of the other things that just has quietly been growing is this Leander ISD AP exam. Even as we've worked together as a team, we've worked in committees to make sure our system is set up so students have opportunities to take courses that interest them and that they're passionate about. They're doing that, and you hear students talking about it. You'll see some data on equity in a minute. You probably already cheated and looked ahead. It's amazing relative to CTE, fine arts, and that type of participation and the parity that we're getting close to. But here, students are still, more students than ever before are taking AP classes and taking AP exams. So see, we're up to just under 5,000 students, individual students taking exams, and we're just under 10,000 exams this year, which is by far the highest number of exams that have ever been taken, almost, over 1,000 more than last year. And then the key to the whole thing, it's not just about getting more kids into the classes, taking more tests. A lot of times, what we've seen in other districts, I've seen in other districts I've worked for, is then your pass rate goes down, your pass rate dips. Greater access, but come on, they got to pass too. And so we are seeing our pass rate remain high and even creep back up to that our highest point, 72% of all AP tests taken, of those 10,000 tests taken, scoring 3s, 4s, or 5s, which means depending on their major and the university, they are definitely eligible inside state universities for credit, whether it's an elective credit or a core credit. It depends on their major. But this is not normal. There are other people in the room, I'm sure, that have been in other districts. And when I came here, and as I'm seeing it grow, and as I looked at this data prepping for this exam, having almost 3/4 of the tests pass, and we get 4s and 5s too. It's not just they're squeaking in on 3s. That is amazing stuff, and it is just a testament to what our teachers and our campus leaders continue to ensure that our students have opportunities to empowering learning experiences. And the reason we put this up here, because just like when you heard our early college students talking earlier, every AP credit earned is potentially a credit that parents don't have to pay for when they are in post-secondary. And that is just an amazing thing. Our next slide, industry-based certifications.
Matt, on the AP exam history,
Yep, we're back.
I know y'all can't put y'all just have to value or kind of put a few graphs. You can't put them all in there. So I don't know if this one's in there, but what I would love to do later is just in a board memo, just get a follow-up, because I think those numbers are so significant. AP passing with a 3 to 5 means the potential of not having to pay for that college class. Dual credit, we also offer that.
Yep.
And our kiddos take, and I don't see the dual credit, those are different routes, different types of students will take those. And I'd love to be able to have, later on a Friday memo, just both those data
Absolutely.
points, because I think they look at different student populations.
We were trying to pull the dual credit together, which that's thousands of credits. And we may either share that with CCMR, definitely in in a board memo, because that is equally important as those, and really attainable credit for our students as they move into post-secondary as well. And most of our students now are taking a combination. You know this, right? In your own personal experiences, there's AP credit, there's college credit, there's dual credit, there's ACC. I mean, there's just so many different opportunities for our students. So, and they're taking advantage of them. By the way, can you believe that one student is going to get the computer science associate's degree? I mean, that is, I want to see his course schedule. I'm pretty impressed, and I want to talk to him more about how he pulled that off and see if that's appropriate for some of our other students. But industry-based certifications, also getting ready for those real life skills. And, you know, I imagine there'll be a few questions here, but, you know, just under 3,400 total certifications, industry-based certifications earned. 1,755 of them are from the approved state list. And then we anticipated some questions. Well, why? You know, why does that state list thing, you know, keep changing? It's because we offer them. Sooner or later, the state usually figures out that these are good. And, you know, the state makes adjustments, and sometimes they remove some and they add some relative to some of the things that they think are becoming outdated. But, you know, our students here at the district, we offer all of these different certifications. So, yes, we offer the state approved list. We also offer additional certifications. Why? Because our students want them, and they are in the areas of interest and passion that our students have. And I mean, again, our CTE programs. Another time we should come and talk about our practicum, those internships, student internships. They are through the roof. I was talking to Camille like actually 24 hours after this presentation was due and asking for all these additional data sets, and she politely told me that we could do it another time.
Well, we only have so much time, so.
That is it. So I think this is actually my second to last slide. Yes, ma'am.
My dad actually called me the other day. He goes, "Hey, I've got an idea for your district." And I said, "What is it, Dad?" He says, "We all should do like some things like teach kiddos how to do welding and cosmetology." And I'm like, "Dad, guess what?" I do think this is almost, for some of our population, a secret. And so I love seeing this out there. I love seeing it in our book. My only request is later, next time, next edition, not a big deal. It'd be great if there's a way where you could put in there some type of mark that lets us know which of these certificates that we're giving these kiddos actually is a requirement for their job, or actually gets them to a resume builder, because there's different type of skill builders in industry based, and so just those hardcore job focused ones would be good to mark in here. So we had that.
Yep.
Or even the number, in addition to that, like the number of students that are taking advantage of this, because some could be doing multiple, is that correct?
Absolutely, because if you think like OSHA safety certification, that cuts across the lot. Might be the health industry. I don't remember what that's called, but yes, short answer, yes.
Yeah, and to Trish's point, I remember 2 years ago, when we had a presentation from Leander High School, and one of the students had indicated that she was in cosmetology school to learn how to do nails, but she was going to A&M to study business. Yep. And so she wanted that to be her off-campus part-time job to help pay for school. Yeah, and
I remember when we gamed out some of those scenarios a few years back, that was what it was all about. How can you get into a field that you're passionate about and then gain experience, but also potential earning power, so that you can pay for college if you don't have a trust fund, which some people, you almost need one these days for some of the I'm looking for one. I don't know. You know, that lost property, unclaimed property. So we did share a little bit of STAR data right here. And we shared reading and math on this page. We've got social studies and science on the next page. We've got every grade level here. We've got the approaches, meets, and masters. And remember, we're always shooting for meets and masters. The state designates approaches. Anything above that, at approaches or above, is a passing score for the tests. So we just wanted to share that. Again, we'll bring back historical data, and we'll be, of course, with a grain of salt, because with the STAR redesign, although our comparison looks very favorable, whether it's good or bad, when it's not necessarily valid, Brenda always calls us out on that, and she will share that information with you too, as we look at, how statistically valid comparing two potentially different tests are. But there's that data there. You notice the asterisk at 7th grade for math, and most of you by now know our students excel in math, and they also excel in math. So many of our 7th graders are in 8th grade math, and so they're included in that score. That's why, if they were taking the 7th grade test, 7th grade would be in the 90s, because they are 7th graders. But they're taking 8th grade math, they're in that 8th grade number. They're also in the Algebra 1 number, because as you know, a lot of them are heading into geometry and are actually 2 years ahead of the game by the time they get to this point. So that does help our high school friends with their algebra numbers as well. But that 7th grade number, you always have to qualify that, because that is not a fair comparison to the other grades, and we don't want to be calling out our middle school people on that number.
So actually, that point you bring up, I think I saw something recently that was raised about Algebra 1 in high school.
Yes.
The scores for that. And when I say that was raised, was in the community discussions.
Sure.
And the comment that some people made was that number could be low, because a lot of the kids that were going to score high in that already did it in 8th grade. So it's really that 7th grade. So it's just something to know that those in 7th grade that are not doing advanced math, they're going to need those extra supports, especially from 7th, especially through 9th grade as they take Algebra 1.
Absolutely. Yes, so the on-level students, we want to make sure that we do need to continue to look at how we support them to have success. The people who do score the highest on our Algebra 1 tests are generally those students that are accelerating. But when they test in Algebra 1, it does get included in the Algebra 1 scores, so they are in there for sure. So, and like I said, there's the science and social studies information there. And then my last slide, still in Goal 1, empowered learning, but we got key question number 3, which is all about the graduate profile. And remember when we talked last year about graduate profile and we looked at the questions being asked in this survey, the whole thing was people don't even know it exists. People aren't aware of it. People therefore don't see the connection in their lives, and it was very, very hit or miss on whether the different attributes they were able to verbalize or perceive that was a part of their school, their empowered learning experience. What we see here is a very logical next step in building that foundation, and it was very methodical and intentional for us as a system to build that awareness of the graduate profile, to, as you've seen, aim all of our goals, all of those arrows and our strategic plan and SIPs and DIPs, all are heading towards that one goal, which is, that commitment to our community that students will develop during our time in our system and leave our system imbued with those attributes of the graduate profile, right? And so we have awareness. Awareness is going up a lot. That big one, I think it's especially notable for the parents, because we can do a lot of stuff with people during the school day. We got those kids they got to show up, right? They're here with us. The parents aren't necessarily available for us to talk to every single day, but that awareness is up and that connection piece is way up, that people are seeing that the work, the learning experiences that students are doing in our system, they're able to see the connection to those attributes of the LISD graduate profile. And then I would just point out kind of the first one that we're seeing a pretty good uptick in is that critical thinking piece, which that really speaks to our work in the academic area around rigor, around deeper learning and deep learning experiences. And so I think we're definitely on the right track with growing as a system with our graduate profile and aligning all of our work and goals and messaging around that number one thing at the top of our pyramid.
I just want to point out this is a great process observation here, because you can actually see the strategic plan in effect. We started out by saying we wanted to increase awareness and start to build those connections. You can see that work's been done in year 1 and the start of year 2, but you can also see the work that's still got to come in years 3, 4, and 5. And so it just process-wise, I think it's a great illustration of what that looks like.
All right, I've been talking a lot, and so I'm going to hand it back to Brenda for these next couple of slides, or I can talk about the next one, whatever you want, Brenda.
Mic button.
So sorry. We're looking at equitable access, goal 4, as we look at that key question: to what extent are we identifying, measuring, and responding to the barriers to access within programs? This goes right back to what Trustee Smith was asking one of our student guests this evening. So as you can see in this chart, across all 5 questions from this dimension, those parent numbers have certainly increased, which is wonderful to see, right? So this is encouraging. It kind of leads us to believe that the approach that we have taken of really calling people into the conversation, inviting people into that conversation, and focusing on really enhancing those educational access is coming to bear good fruit. The student numbers in that secondary chart have remained consistent, as you can see, and we have a little few marginal gains in 3 of those 5 questions. This year, the Office of DEI is going to be piloting some student engagement activities to really focus on this area, aligned to equitable access at 4 Points Middle School. So in this graph, this really illustrates that high level of engagement for all of our students that are enrolled in either CTE, athletics, and or fine arts, with an average of 92%. I really feel like this is an important feature here, because as we think about how student engagement, we just heard about that tonight, honestly, often increases those feelings of belonging, right, that we see with our students, which certainly can have a positive impact on our student outcomes. So we can see that access here is very strong, and we ask ourselves, so how do we replicate this within our other data? So those are things that we're going to be certainly digging into.
As y'all look at it as a committee, I don't need answers, but as you look at this as a committee, one of the things that keep coming to my mind is I love that we're increasing access and the numbers of students participating. Therefore, it gives us a greater statistical chance of connecting students to their passion. Mm-hmm. But I'm making an assumption that they will be connected to their passion by joining these. Do we know that these extracurriculars, are they, connecting students to the passion? Are we reaching that quality? I feel like that's maybe a next level question. I don't know if that, I know it's not something to answer tonight. I just wanted to let you know what I was noodling, and I'll ask y'all later as you have conversations with your committee, how is that coming out?
Okay, great.
And I think to piggyback what she's saying is we have so many different campuses, but not every campus offers the same extracurricular activities. And a lot of the times that is on the parent to provide and start those activities. So I'm wanting just to see, like, how are we going to make sure that a child at one campus has robotics, but you have another campus who just can't get that started off the ground. Right. So for me, we have missed opportunities for this student over here in this school for whatever reason. And so I'm trying to figure out, how are we going to make this an equitable access for all of our students to be able to have access to those opportunities, not based on where they live.
Absolutely. Great questions. Thank you. And so as we look at the percent of students earning high school credit in middle school on this slide, we are very close to parity as it relates to our student groups. We certainly have a couple that we are seeing some deltas and are tracking and want to dig a little bit deeper into that. But look at the growth numbers. That's something I really want to point out compared to the previous year. So when we look at some of those growth numbers, look at that 8 percentage point increase with our economically disadvantaged student group, 8 percentage point increase with our students served in special education, and an 18% percentage point growth in our Black African American student group. So each one of those areas has at least a marginal increase, and so it's continuing to work, continuing to seek those opportunities for access.
I would just point out those last two slides, and I wish Dwayne could be here tonight, just so we could kind of talk, he could talk to it and we could celebrate together. But that parity, that proves, and he's proven, we've worked together to prove that it can be done. You can close achievement gaps. Not all of our data sets look like that, but the fact that we can achieve some serious movement on something as tangible and significant as middle schoolers earning high school credit, and that'll translate directly to high schoolers earning college credit, and and going to early college, high school, and things like that, and then that participation rate for CTE and fine arts and athletics. It's just that gives us, that kind of heartens us and inspires us and pushes us to work in some of those other areas, all the other areas, to see how, if it can be done. If in theory, if it can be done here, it can be done in the other areas as well, and that becomes our mission. So.
And I'd also like just to add to that is there's constant discussions that Dwayne is having with our feeder patterns about how do we help build awareness, how do we help make those next steps. So I definitely foresee those improvements continuing. So as we wrap up tonight, just want to remind our community that the point of a community-based accountability system is about community. It's about that not one of us as a stakeholder, whether you're a parent, whether you're a staff member, student, we can't do it alone, right? It's that old saying about it takes a village, but that's what the whole community-based accountability is about. It's about us as a community saying this is what's important to us, that we're going to work together to make it happen for our students in those classrooms each and every day. We just heard from our early college high school early on this evening, and I heard opportunities, I heard experiences. We heard that from Samantha and Fate tonight as well. That's what it's about. It's not about one day, one assessment, one rating. It's about each and every day. So I welcome everybody to please, if you've not had the opportunity in our community to really look at our community-based accountability report that's posted, please do so. I think you're going to find a wonderful story.
I just want to give a huge shout out to Shannon Lombardo, who took a very raggedy Google Doc and turned it into this beautiful piece of work.
I do believe that Shannon probably did not like the name Brenda Cruz coming across on her chat, but she, because we were going back and forth. But again, my hat is off to the entire community relations team, because they, like I said, they take our ideas and they make it glow.
Board members, do you have any questions, comments?
I have a quick
thoughts?
question. I feel like I've seen before, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but in previous reports about the barriers to programs, that we actually had some data regarding what percentage of the barriers were transportation, what percentage of the students said that their barriers were cost. Do we have that information here, or can it go in a board memo, or is that not, was it not divided that way previously?
I do not believe that we have that I know we don't have that this evening, right?
Yes.
But I will absolutely look deeper into the information. I am not recalling right now off the top of my head of having that, but I can certainly look, and if it is available, we will certainly be sharing that with you in a board memo.
Okay.
We do have an equity data sheet. So it was, I'll remember this day, it was December 2021. No, 2020. I just got on the board and they put together this equity data sheet and my mouth almost fell off the head. Like, it was eye-opening. And that has some of that information on there, and we
Okay.
could just, I'll get Cindy to share it to the board.
That would be great.
The only other thing I can think of that may be what you're referring to or kind of thinking of is when we did the surveys around schools of choice, and there was a question specifically about how far you'd be willing or able to travel to attend a school of choice. And we do have, and so that was, and I don't remember the specific number of miles, but I think it was around anything past 10. It might have been 10, I don't know. I can dig that out. But that's, I know we have that. That's not exactly what you're asking for.
I was just curious,
but I think we have some of that, and that does speak to the access issue for sure.
Yeah, because the question in the book is talking about campuses identifying the barriers. So I was just curious if we had any further numbers on that particular question.
I will certainly be looking at that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I mean, sometimes a barrier could also be lack of knowledge too. So if that's
Creating
something
awareness
that,
and,
So, I'm been on the board long enough that I can remember not having CBAS. And it was a struggle as the board is trying to dive through these numbers to find out what does learning really look like in the classroom. Yes, we need state accountability because state wants to have that one data point. We've got that slice, and federal government has this, and we know those pieces, but they don't give us that picture of what does it really look like for our students in our environment of learning. And so I am so thankful to the board because this journey started, before y'all got here, but it was definitely continued and ignited and kicked off as y'all have joined. And I think this is a powerful instrument, and we're only in year 2. So thank you, Dr. Gehring. Thank you to the board and to, of course, our administrators for really bringing this to life to us this evening. I'd also like to thank all the committee because there's a lot of discussion happening behind the scenes to our committee. That is, again, staff empowerment, parent empowerment. Those are those opportunities that we keep talking about of local government where our community is telling us these are the hopes and dreams. This is what we want to see out of our children. And to y'all's point, continuous improvement. We're still finding ways of where we're going to improve. We said we're going to tell the hard story and the good stories. And so thank y'all so much for this work. It is amazing and so hopeful to see what we want as far as our hopes and dreams for our students growing, and we are getting closer every day, it looks like, to achieving some of these goals. So thank you.
And we're actually kicking off our first Community-Based Accountability Committee meeting this coming Monday. So we're seeking feedback during that time and ideas from our parents and staff and community members that have applied for that committee. So looking forward to that. Later on this next week, there's a team of us also meeting with our Texas Public Accountability Consortium that specifically focuses on our community-based accountability, and we gather with other districts from the state of Texas, and we learn together. And so there's some great opportunities for that continuous improvement that you were just speaking of that will certainly be in action very shortly.
Just a quick note from me on slide 8. I'm going to go way back. The 7% decrease in what I learned in school helps me be a better person at the elementary level. I'm just curious about when we get responses from elementary school kids, do they understand what the question's asking them?
We actually have a script that we share out with our elementary educators.
Okay.
And within that script, they are helping students understand. So they might, maybe some student even has difficulty reading that survey question, right? So that educator is able to read that question for them if they have questions about what something may mean, not understand. So they have a script that that we share with them to actually help
Them
administer
understand.
that
Okay.
survey within the classroom.
Perfect. I wondered too about, our SEL program, so our social emotional learning program, and how that ties into that. And are they getting those lessons? Are they feeling like they, that developing character piece? So just kind of put that in your head. I just want to make sure that, we're still having those lessons in class, that teachers are using it with fidelity, all of that stuff. So anything about that?
I think those two questions paired together make perfect sense, because our students, even with the script, able to make the connection between what the question asks and what's going on with their second step lesson.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. That's perfect. And just overall, I think this is just such a good, I don't want to say snapshot, because it really is an encompassing document that talks about whole child. I mean, we talk about whole child all the time, and the state accountability is important, and that's a piece of it. But this really does give us a picture of what our students look like in our system. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much. We appreciate it. Can't wait to hear what the committee is going to bring back. All right, board members, we are now going to go to 7C1, elementary school number 30, attendance, zoning, process, and timeline. Oh boy. Hey, Jimmy.
Madam Vice President, board members, Dr. Gearing. We are here tonight to discuss the attendance zoning for elementary number 30. As we all have lived through it, we just seem like we just got through zoning for our secondary schools, but this process will follow very much like what the secondary zoning process was. We had a very positive response from the community with feedback and the transparency, so we felt that was critical part to continue. Of course, we do have a charter, and the main criteria there is listed in the middle as far as our themes: strengthen the student experience. Of course, that's going to be done through establish the long-term stability, access to choice options, and then also on our neighborhood school concepts where we're still able to meet the content or the intent of the long-range plan. And then, of course, the prioritize fiscal responsibility, and that's done through the maximize the usage of district facilities through strategic rezoning or optimization opportunities. And then, of course, also defer the timing of school construction is another item there. Then, of course, this is our flow chart that Shannon graciously put together. While she was working on CBAS, I was sitting there pushing for this. So she was getting pulled both ways, but she did a great job. Appreciate it. And so, as you can see, the process looks very similar to what we did secondary. We do have community forums. We're sitting in box number 2 tonight. And then our goal is to get the process approved on the 26th. And then over the next couple of weeks, we will be getting some new data from our demographer, population survey analysts, which will be then brought into the new projections and new long-range plan to see the impact to it, and we'll use the new data to actually do this attendance zoning on. And so we'll be creating scenarios, and then if it is approved on the 26th, we will release it on the 27th for the public to start feedback, and then 2 community forums are scheduled on November 6th and November 8th, Monday and Wednesday. We did 2 that week, and we located them at Plain Elementary because when you look at the location of the school and where potential, it's sort of in the middle of everything. And so we figured it was a good central location to help the community be able to get to the school. And so that's why we chose that. And then we do have, if it comes through and we have a second scenario, it branches off into the boxes by number 7, and so you can see we'll repeat it and then work it into the flow. And of course, again, once we get a recommendation, we'll take it to long-range planning committee just to get their feedback, because the zoning is a critical component of the long-range plan. If it's not zoned like everybody's thinking, it has a huge impact. So we want to keep everybody aligned and moving forward in the same direction. So we will do that again, and our goal is to actually bring it up to the Long Range Planning Committee at the next meeting, just to get them in the loop of the process and moving forward with it. So anyway, our goal is to try to have a decision by December 14th board meeting. So any questions?
Quick comment, you said November 6th, that's a student staff holiday. November 6th is a student staff holiday.
We'll look at that. Because I don't know, we pulled them up, but it evidently didn't get flagged, so good catch, thank you.
I just wanted to say I love the number 9 box, because I know with the whole long-range plan and everything we're doing and trying to figure out how all of these are going to mesh together. So my heart is so happy to see that, to know that they play a part into the bigger story of this district. So, board members, any questions?
Yeah, the demographer's report, how is that information? Because I think that's coming in, sometime in this, between box 4 and 5 and 6. But it looks like your plan's already going to be done. So I think we're going to have some angst if it looks like we're getting new information, but the plans are already done. So how are you going to coordinate that?
The long-range plan won't be officially done until we get it all. The main thing we'll do is pull the new data in and look at the elementary to see, just like last year, we had a plan, and when we got it, we saw that just more growth in the north and less, growth in the central part. So we just have to be able to adjust to it, and then it's going to be coming back.
So to be clear, the demographic report that we get, you'll just be using that data to feed into this.
Exactly.
And just to clarify, so the final report will be bringing to the board at the next board meeting, but they will have the data sooner than that, the raw data, to be able to start processing some of this ahead of time.
Because we want to.
Board members, any other questions? No? All right, thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you.
But you're not going very far. Board members, we are now on 7C2, artificial turf vendor. Jimmy, you're up.
Yes. The 2023 bond did have in the package a artificial turf for baseball and softball at Leander, Cedar Park, Vista, Rouse, and Vandegrift high schools. Glenn already has artificial turf, so that's why it's not included. But we did go through an RFP process and got quotes in and have determined the vendor we are recommending to be Hellas. As you'll notice, there's no dollar amount because there's a variable. We have pricing, but depending on when we start these projects, if it's now or if it's in the summer, it has a bearing on the impact in the cost because it goes up if we wait. And so it is, we have all the pricing locked in, but we're meeting with cities right now. We actually met with the city yesterday, and we're meeting with Austin next week and the city of Leander the following week to try to get the process expedited and not have to actually do a lot of drainage work because of the way we designed the system. So, any
Board
questions?
members, any questions?
Jimmy, I sent you an email ahead of time. So if you just.
I'm sorry, I was
Yeah.
thinking about the dollar amounts. As you know, right now, we're doing baseball, softball fields. Here lately, there's been a lot of discussion from the NFL about grass versus turf lately. Week 1 and 2, you had 2 stars that were injured from Achilles tears, and one was on grass, one was artificial turf. And since that time, the Executive Vice President of Health and Safety has come out and said, we have artificial turf fields that have lower rate of injuries in this area, and we have grass fields that have the same thing. It's equal in as far as injury. That's a contact sport. It's a totally different type of field. Baseball is not set up for contact sports. It's going to be a consistent, predictable playing surface that's a lot safer than what we have in grass fields. And when you hear them comparing grass fields in NFL and high schools, it's nothing to be compared. I mean, UT, when they had their baseball field, they had a staff that cut that grass field every day, and they spent a lot of money. As we know, with the water issues in the Central Texas area, our watering gets restricted and we cannot maintain the fields, and that's another main reason we're going to provide a very safe field for students to play on. That's going to increase our safety over the grass fields we have today. And so it's unfortunate, but that's where it's the safest thing to do. And when you look at the 5 high schools that we're looking at, it's estimated we're going to save 21 million gallons of water a year. And so that has a huge impact. It doesn't solve all the city's problems, but it's a big help. And so if we can get these changed out, it's going to save a lot of water for the cities and not be wasting it. I know the city's looking at doing the same thing. It does make sense.
There is a lot of talk right now amongst at least where I live, as far as allowing artificial turf to start coming in your backyard and what that looks like because of the current situation we're in. Yep. Good luck talking to all the cities and getting this approved. I know our baseball and softball teams are super eager about this.
Oh, everybody.
I know they are. I just want to clarify, though, I know there were some things going on, and you did mention Glenn is not part of this package because we just got it, but we are not pulling up Glenn's turfs. It's all great.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's fine. Typically with baseball, softball, you get 8 to 10 years because you don't have you still have, the sun is the biggest culprit to your artificial products, and it's going to be mainly, but you don't have the weight and the wear. Where you have it is first base, second base, home, and pitcher's mound. So those are the areas that usually get the highest wear and tear, and if you maintain it constantly, coaches love doing it, but now they just have smaller areas to do it. And we do a lot of training for the coaches as well as our grounds crew to try to maintain and keep those in good condition.
All right, board member, this is up for approval tonight, so I need a motion.
I move that the board approve Hellas Construction for the high school baseball and softball artificial turf projects in the 2023 bond program and authorize the superintendent or designee to negotiate and execute the appropriate contracts, and that administration be allowed to negotiate final terms with Field Turf if final negotiations with Hellas Construction are unsuccessful.
I second.
I have a motion by Francesca, a second by Christine. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. 5 yeses, no opposes. Motion passes. Thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you.
All right, we ready? All right, board, it is, what time is it? 8:51, and the board will now go into closed session for the purpose permitted by Texas government codes. Hold on. 551071, consultation with attorney regarding pending or contemplated litigation or attorney-client privilege matter. Texas Government Code 551074, deliberation regarding resignations, terminations, employment, reassignments, duties, and evaluation regarding evaluation of personnel and public officers. I can't talk. Texas Government Code 5510821, deliberation regarding matters whereby personally identify information regarding one or more students will be disclosed. No action will be taken in closed session. Any action related to closed session agenda items will be taken when the board returns to open session. It is 9:14 and the board is returning to open session. We have no motions related to closed session agenda items, so this meeting is adjourned.